Hello, my name is Sam Allen and I'm your host for today's ceremony. 3 years ago, I had the honor to be with you in Vienna at the opening ceremony of Euroanaesthesia 2019. Who was to know what the future held back then? What a journey the past few years have been for every single one of you here today, whether you are joining us here in person or virtually. It is great to be back together again at Euroanaesthesia 2022.
Dear friends, colleagues, partners, and kids, we are serving our patients with the blessing of our families. Deprivation and sacrificing at all levels during the pandemic until total exhaustion. At the level of our society, fears to run into a financial disaster and headquarter staff unemployment. To cut a long story short, yes, we had to cancel Euroanaesthesia in Barcelona and Munich, and my colleagues from the board have seen online my tears and disappointment. But it's not about me, it's about ESAIC. And we managed as a great team all the challenges in the past 2 years. Weekly video conferences, endless phone calls, and a great new CEO with Kati. Board members such as Edith, Orit, Steph, Radmilo, and Eduardo made the impossible suddenly possible. During the peak of the pandemic, suddenly the name change of ESA to ESAIC. A magnificent change in direction. But how was this possible? Easy answer, 8 years of preparation in my former position as the president of the Multiple Joint Committee of Intensive Care Medicine and a reclaim of the European Board of Intensive Care Medicine. We have written for the first time the European training requirements for intensive care medicine with special emphasis on a multidisciplinary approach. Over 70% of intensive care patients in Europe are treated by anesthesiologists. Did you know this? We are doing the job, but nobody knows about it. Politicians, neither at the national nor at the European level, are aware of this. We, ESAIC, have to change this. If you would have done a Google search for ESA 2 years ago, you would have been faced with the European Space Agency, the European Sociological Association, even the European Snacks Association, just to name a few. On Google page 22, you would have found us. If you're now looking for ESAIC, boom, page 1. This is a start, isn't it? One way to speak up and to create awareness of ESAIC in the European Parliament is excellence in research. And yes, we are now successful in the European Union's Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe research and innovation programs, and Vision, artificial intelligence in the intensive care medicine unit, and Covent, treating patients suffering from COVID-19, are 2 star projects, just to name a few. And finally, my little baby, becoming a fellow of the European Society of Anesthesiology and Intensive Care. ESAIC is a prestigious honor awarded to healthcare professionals who have made a significant contribution to anesthesiology and intensive care. To be a ESAIC indicates and proves an exceptional level of service to the society and patients, from congress and research to education and advocacy, that distinguish ESAIC from their peers. The ESAIC title is recognized throughout the anesthesiology and intensive care community as a symbol of excellence. Being a ESAIC is not only a recognition of your contribution to anesthesiology and intensive care, it also means that you belong to a dedicated group of professionals that demonstrate integrity and excellence in the care of your patients. Thank you for being part of ESAIC.
Dear Euroanaesthesia members community, dear ESAIC members, dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen, after 2 years of a pandemic that physically kept us apart, but linked us with a strong bond of commitment to fight COVID in our hospitals and intensive care units, we finally have the pleasure to meet again. I'm delighted and proud to have the privilege and the honor to welcome you to Euroanaesthesia 2022, here in my country, here in Milano. It is a joy to see so many colleagues, friends, and members of the ESAIC community here today. It is you who are the driving force and inspiration to continue contributing in promoting the exchange of information between anesthesiologists. It is you who disseminate information in regards to anesthesiology and intensive care. And it's you who raises the standards of our specialty by fostering and encouraging education, research, scientific progress, and exchange across Europe and beyond. The usual fervor surrounding our opening ceremony today is shadowed by the continuing challenges our colleagues are facing across the world. This fact takes over our constant thoughts. As a community, we continue to face unprecedented times and continuous threats from sustainability across critical care to continued hostilities across the world. We must, of course, recognize and extend our compassionate sentiment to the exceptional and pressurized working circumstances that many of our colleagues face globally today. Being part of the ESAIC community enables us to share personal and professional pertinency, the networking opportunities provided in ESAIC events, present valuable and unique opportunities for the professional growth and experience exchange. Being part of an engaging community gives us a sense of belonging, provides motivation, it empowers you. It gives me a sense of pride in who we are and what we continually do to offer to our patients the best and safest care. I have reflected on the keywords that I believe define our ESAIC community. Connection and support. We value relationships that enable mutual support within the ESAIC community. Sharing of ideas to stimulate innovation and growth, we contribute to further the greater worth of our community. Influence, we empower to influence positive change and create impact. Passion and inspiration, we build confidence to create new things to benefit the community and the healthcare we provide. And finally, legacy. I had set up 3 goals in my application letter as ESAIC president 1 year ago. And those were visibility and influence, research, patient safety. I had reassumed these 3 goals with an acronym, VIRES, in Latin means strengths. Those goals are always relevant and my focal points during my presidency. Last, you want to be remembered for your values and what you inspire in the many years to come. During the last 2 years, myself, Kai, and all committees continued to invest in research. We extended our commitment to patient safety and built on further connections, bringing more value to our members. If we were taught one thing during the last 2 years, it was that we need to be resilient in our times, adapt, change, and ready to the next thing. Anesthesiologists have always had all these characteristics. That and more are points we need to reflect on to define our purpose, our future, and the impact we want to make to inspire generations to come to join the ESAIC community. Let us continue this legacy as a stronger community together again.
Thank you. Please do give your appreciation to your past president and your president, Professor Kai Zakharowski and Professor Eduardo de Robertis. We can hug. Don't go too far away, but you are allowed to leave and enjoy the next section.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, how the patient-doctor relationship has evolved during these extraordinary times is of interest to many. And with our focus on trainees and the critical role they play, not just within the society, but within critical care, I'd like to now invite two of our members to share their story of friendship, relationships, and the power of mentoring. Please give a very warm welcome to Professor Radmilo Jankovic and Professor Vojislava Neškovic. Thank you both so much for joining us, this lovely audience today, and I know you are both extremely happy to be gathered together in the same room after the experiences you've had during COVID. Now, Radmilo, many of our audience will know you as your role as secretary for the society, but we must remember, first and foremost, you're a doctor, you're a family member, and a friend, and in particular, a great friend of Vojka's. We'll talk about that shortly, but first, Serbia had an unprecedented number of patients in ICU during the pandemic. It was an awful situation that you faced as anesthesiologists. Can you give us just a short overview of that, please?
Yes, indeed. It was some kind of epic drama. We used to call it like medical Armageddon. Just a few weeks after we saw the pictures from Lombardy, especially from Bergamo in Italy, the danger came to Serbia. And the southern part of Serbia, in which I'm heading one hospital, was under the huge pressure and attack of invisible enemy. And in this epic drama, the bravest was the youngest. Yes, the young residents just finishing their residency, some of them still did not. But they took the position in the first line, treating the thousands of patients reaching all over the Serbia. We were overflow with the patients, with almost full capacity of the hospital, with exceptions of pediatric and obstetrics. We were full. And a lot of patients died every day. It was huge emotional pressure on the young, especially on young doctors. But the situation became worse in whole Serbia. Just a few weeks after that, my colleagues from Belgrade and Novi Sad came into the battle also. You remember this?
Yeah, absolutely. And my hospital, due to some reorganizations, started 1 month later. So we can prepare a little bit, and also tensions were growing. And in our hospitals, we have 120 beds. And as soon as we were open, the day one, we were fully packed. So that was like a huge surge of patients with all those emotional and fears and concerns about what is going to happen.
Speaking of which, Vojka, some of our audience may know the extraordinary journey that you have gone through. You never once thought that you were going to become sick, and in a short amount of time in 2020, you moved from being critical care doctor to and a mentor, of course, as well, to a very, very sick COVID patient. Can you share with us how this has changed you and how you work now?
Well, after 6 months working in COVID zone, I got infected at home, and I was the patient with the most difficult clinical scenario, with acute respiratory failure and mechanical ventilation of the duration of 7 days. And it came as a surprise for everybody because I'm totally healthy, I have no comorbidities, I'm a long-distance runner. And it just proved something that we all knew, that it can happen to everybody. And well, I have to say that this was I knew from the beginning what is happening to me. Everybody asked me if ignorance would help. I would say no. I think I felt very much in control, knowing everything that is going to happen to me. And they asked me, were you afraid? And I don't remember being afraid, because I have to say that whenever in my life I decided to put a patient on a ventilator, I never did that because I thought that they're going to die. I did that because I thought that they will have a chance to survive. And that is, I believe in what I was doing, so I was believing in what was happening to me. And the only thing that I learned is that we are very powerful, but also very brutal. I did not experience loneliness because my residents and my colleagues were taking care of me. So we should try to make our ICUs humane and also trying to communicate better with our most difficult patients.
An incredible experience for you to take back after you recovered, and you are well now.
Completely well, running again.
Wonderful. Now
I am a victory of our profession.
Thank you for sharing. It's a wonderful story. Radmilo, your closest friend is on a mechanical ventilator. You are 200 miles away in a pandemic. You know the risks of this treatment more than most. How did this make you feel?
Yes, I was fully aware of that, because just a few weeks before that, my father died because of the COVID, and my brother spent some days in my ICU, fortunately not on mechanical ventilation. I was aware of whole danger and thinking about her, and I was aware that she was sleeping.
Yep.
But I was fully aware that she will recover. I remember that I called my colleagues from Military Medical Academy almost each hour to ask about her condition, whether it's the time to put her on ECMO, but finally she got well. And the doctors in Belgrade, as the doctors, anesthesiologists in my department, fought bravely and with honor. And finally we succeed, and she survived.
And here to tell the tale at our opening ceremony here in Milan. Thank you so much, Radmilo. Now, Vojka, as a mentor yourself, with your trainees treating you, your values, and these are your words, I know, because I watched your speech, your values of education, training, teamwork, and professionalism saved your life. You have now been the doctor and the patient. What can you share with new colleagues and old and trainees, of course, to strengthen this area of our learnings?
Well, as I mentioned, a majority of my colleagues that took care of me were my former residents and my mentees. So it's very rewarding when you know that probably those people that you managed to teach something gave your life back to you. So I think, I don't think negative of my experience. I see that as a peak of my life because those people were very obviously successful. So I would like to remind especially our younger colleagues, that teaching is not just one of the competencies that we have to achieve, it is also our duty. So I think we should be dedicated to education and improving patient care. Also, professionalism assumes that interest of our patients is beyond our own interest. So whenever we feel challenged or overwhelmed with learning and work, we should remember that this is dedicated, this is not for ourselves, this is not to prove how clever and how great we are, it is actually to share it with others. And I think there is no more noble profession, and we don't have to search for our purpose. We know it, and that is trying to save other people's lives.
That's just a fantastic way of closing out the section. You know your purpose. One thing that when we were talking before today's opening ceremony is we were talking about what was happening behind us, and Radmila, if you remember, you said, well, we should have a photograph of us hugging, two of you hugging, but we don't need a photograph because we're here in a room together. So as I say, thank you both for sharing your stories and experiences, and most importantly, your friendship. A big round of applause from the audience, and please feel free to have a hug.
We can hug. Yeah.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a perfect segue now to meet our next guests today. As we said, we are doing things a little differently. The trainees do have the future in their hands, and at our president's request, it was essential that they were part of today's opening ceremony. Let's hear from them.
I think I was 14 or 15 when I decided, okay, I really enjoy biology and the human body, and I thought it was fascinating, all the things that are going on in people's bodies and all the diseases that we can get and how to cure these diseases or how to be helpful to people, to treat them or to coach them in their process. Doing a full-time traineeship was already very hard working, but having a baby as well makes it even harder. It's really inspiring that you see the people from Belgium, from Germany, from Greece, from Portugal, and to all be connected at one moment in time and to discuss about one topic which we like very much, anesthesiology, and really to exchange ideas and to learn from each other. My name is Nadine van Veendaal. I'm a trainee in anesthesiology, and I'm also a trainee representative for the ESAIC Council.
So I came to Berlin, so I was also coming to this big, huge new city. So the past 2 years were kind of tough. There was always this one element missing. There was this true human connection. Nothing can replace this authentic connection, these authentic relationships. I would say I'm really optimistic. Whatever we missed in the past 2 years, all these connections, all these relationships, this can now be recovered. Being a doctor, it's like doing multiple jobs at the same time. So one, you're like a doctor, you're treating a patient. You're also working with your team. You're also always like a teacher because you educate, but you're also at the same time, you're a student because there's always a lot to learn. The education plays a major role. And then it's also you also kind of a manager because you manage your word a bit. You're also a researcher. So there's plenty of side jobs that are hidden within this title. What I really love about anesthesiology is we work with everybody together. We're still connected in one big team supporting a big cause, basically our specialty, anesthesiology and intensive care. My name is Igor Abramovich. I am an anesthesiology trainee working in intensive care, and I'm also the chair of the trainee committee at the European Society of Anesthesiology and Intensive Care.
Welcome them onto stage, Dr. Nadine van Veendaal and Dr. Igor Abramovich. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Thank you so much for those videos, a real insight into the life and the behind the scenes of what's happening. Now, let's talk about work-life balance. Is there such a thing for trainees? Nadine, being a trainee, regularly having 50-plus hour work weeks, etc., how do you manage a personal life, a family? We saw your beautiful baby, friends, whilst ensuring you remain focused on your professional career?
Good question. It's a puzzle. My husband is a trainee as well. So every week we sit down at a dinner table and synchronize our schedules. So we decide who will pick up the baby each day, who will prepare dinner, who is on call this week. So basically, we puzzle it out. But I have to admit, it works. And I admit my life was less complicated without a baby, and it was way more flexible. But all the things, so my personal life, my work for anesthesiology, and all my activities for the ESAIC give so much energy, we'll manage.
It's your passion.
Exactly.
Igor. No baby, as I understand.
Yeah, you know, speaking of like my free time, in my free time, I love connecting to our anesthesiologists and intensivists, like you all experienced people, or like the trainees that are like sitting here. So actually, I really missed that in the past 2 years where we're just interacting online all the time, right, Nadine?
We only knew each other online, so we met actually 2 days ago.
And we get along quite well.
I did not know that. You kept that one a secret from me. Now, I've got to ask the golden question because we've got, obviously, our current leaders in the room. What does being part of this association mean to you? How has ESAIC supported your career so far?
That is a great question. So first, I would like to reflect on that. You saw in the video, I work mainly in intensive care. So it's great that the society changed its name 2 years ago to actually reflect that we don't only work in OR and anesthesiology, but that we also work in other fields, like in intensive care, or like our fields like pain medicine or emergency medicine. So for me, being a part of the ESAIC is like being a part of a huge platform, being connected to experienced people, receiving a lot of support, but also connecting with young trainees to build like a big network. Being a part of the ESAIC means for me that I'm able to shape the future of anesthesiology and intensive care as a trainee. So I can only recommend every trainee to join and be a part of the next future generation.
And of course, ESAIC provides a platform to exchange all the challenges that we face during our traineeship in each country. And it's really nice to discuss our challenges and our experiences in our residency over a cold Italian beer during the trainee events, for example, the one this afternoon, an Italian beer in the sun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I love the fact that you managed to bring in the beer conversation. You said you were going to do that. We thank you for your hard work. We thank you so much for you sharing your stories with everybody today, Nadine and Igor. And thank you to all trainees in the room. You are the future of the society. Ladies and gentlemen, and kids, please give it up for our trainees, Nadine and Igor. Now, no young professionals would be here without a strong scientific program. So I would like to invite Professor Edith Matteau, Chair of the Scientific Committee, to join us to talk about just that. We can hug to see. We can hug. We're allowed. It's great to have you here on stage with me this morning. Thank you so much for sharing some insights. Now, my first question is, what were, and probably still are, the main challenges that you face and experience as a scientific committee chair, leading on to how has the scientific committee evolved during these past 2 years?
First of all, it's such a joy to see everybody. I keep smiling since I arrived here 2 days ago, keep hugging the people and touching the people. Scientific committee, it's very hard to work when you don't know the people, when you don't see the people, when you don't get their vibe and energy, and you work through the Zoom, and it's devastating. I mean, yeah, right, it's not face-to-face meeting. And in 2 years, we had to transform the traditional form into online, and then another online in times of uncertainty, and then from 6 months, have the hybrid meeting. So it's almost impossible, yet everybody, as we've heard, were focused on what? They were focused on the patients, on their families, yet they did the job. So we had several targets that we aimed at, and we reached those. And one is gender equity. Steph started it as a president of the ESAIC several years ago, and I joined. It was really a pleasant trip with you. And currently, we have almost 50% of the speakers, not the chairs, okay, of this, the sessions are female, also chairs of the scientific committee. And I really encourage each one of you, ladies and men, to apply for vacancies in the scientific committee. The other goal was to have more interactive sessions. So currently we have 35% is interactive sessions, which we had less than 10% before, including some new formats, the serious games led by Professor Caroline Weiniger and the group. And I encourage everybody to really register to those because it's really leadership and teamwork and learning together. We have other new formats, but that was very important for us to integrate. And last and not least, and this is the first time I'm introducing it to everybody, we restructure the scientific committee because of the renaming of our society. So it's not anymore those 16 subcommittees. In half a year, you'll all be acquainted with a new format, a more holistic one that looks at innovations, that looks at technologies, that looks at the patients and organs and the perioperative medicine. It's totally different scientific committee. And I wish to thank Rafaela, who is sitting here, and Emily, who is working, for doing all this great job. I salute you and obviously all the scientific committee.
Thank you so much for recognizing others. Now, I can't have the chair of the scientific committee on stage without asking the golden question, and I know you haven't got 4 hours to tell us all of these, but Euroanaesthesia 2022, what will be the highlights?
There are already some highlights sitting here. Kai family, this opportunity to meet you. Well, first of all, our speakers for today. So obviously everybody knows Professor Kai Zakharovsky. It's a big highlight to tell us about ESA to ESAIC, and I'll introduce it in a moment. We're going to have Kate Pryor, Surgeon Captain Kate Pryor, Professor McIntosh. As I've mentioned, we're having the serious games, the new format. Another thing is the Andreas Heft, in memory of Andreas Heft research talk. Very inspiring. Two speakers, Hopkins and Lando, about genetics and anesthesia, and the consortium late-breaking session from Dan Sessler and the consortium of Dan Sessler together with Pelosi will bring all the latest, really just released papers. So there is so much that is going on.
You heard it directly here in the opening ceremony. Please check the app and your program. So much more to talk about. We look forward to seeing you again later in our ceremony. But for now, thank you so much, Edith, for your continuous hard work for this community.
Thank you.
It is now time for the official opening of the Congress. So thank you, Eduardo, for joining me back here on stage. Now, throughout today's opening ceremony, the thread, as you all have known, has been very much centered around the importance of this community. And Eduardo has asked me to invite all of you who have participated in today's ceremony to please come back and join us for this moment on stage. So please welcome all our participants from this morning back onto stage. Gotta have a hug. Over to you, Eduardo.
Well, I really hope that during these coming days, you enjoy the company of each other. After 2 years of fighting in the front line to get through the pandemics, it's time to bring our stories together and our learnings from this extraordinary time to strengthen our community and prepare ourselves for whatever we might face next. But now it's finally time to connect, to be social again, to share experiences, to dialogue between each other and to face, and to rise a toast, to make plans for the future of anesthesiology and intensive care. It is a privilege and a great honor to declare Euroanaesthesia 2022 as open. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. You must stay with me. You may head over. It's very nice to be joined with people here. Thank you.
Thank you.
You must stay with me. Thank you. Don't go far.
No, I know.
Actually, I've got Eduardo now because you're honorary. No? Don't go too far. You're allowed for a second. It wouldn't be an opening ceremony without representation from the society of our host country, and this year is no different. Let's hear a short message from the Italian Society President, Professor Antonio Giardano.
On behalf of Italian Society of Anesthesia and Analgesia Intensive Care Medicine and its 11,000 of members, I am very honored to bring our greeting to our European Society. The program of European Congress is remarkable and very complete, and the compliments are for President Professor Edoardo De Robertis and all the scientific committee. Welcome in Italy. Benvenuti in Italia.
A great welcome to this beautiful city of Milano. Yeah. Now, before we start our keynote lectures, it is time to honor some incredibly special members joining us here today. Eduardo, can you please tell us a little bit about what it actually means to become an ESAIC honorary member? What does this title represent for people?
Well, I mean, the honorary membership is the highest honor we can offer to our outstanding colleagues that have contributed highly for the society, for the development of the patient safety, for the clinical outcomes of our patients, for the research. And so it's something really, really important for me. And what is from the last year, I have also to add one important aspect of the honorary membership, that they will also receive together the ESAIC. ESAIC is the fellowship of our society that has been already presented by Kai.
So not just a trophy and that honorary award, they're getting the certificate of being ESAIC.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful honor for today. Now, before we invite our honorees onto stage and award them those trophies and certificates, let's hear a little bit about them and why they're being awarded the title today.
An honorary member of ESAIC is a physician, scientist, or professional who has attained outstanding eminence in anesthesiology or related fields, and who has served the society or organizations who've joined the society with distinction. Being honored today are Professor Wolfgang Bure for his impressive record of achievements within our society, not just as the research chair, but within his many roles over the years. He has and still is successfully leading the mentorship program and has guided many future leaders in their professional journey. He plays an important role in elevating the ACRO team to the impressive level we see today, and his strong relationship with industry and many other key opinion leaders among Europe has contributed to the success of the research trial. Professor Edith Méthode. We are grateful for her achievements and continuous engagement in developing the scientific activities of the Society. We especially want to acknowledge the important role Edith plays, acting as a genuine role model for our colleagues, both female and male. Her way of combining a strong scientific, research and educational profile with an important leadership position at national and international level is and will continue to be an example for all anesthesiologists worldwide. She has contributed greatly to the success of ESAIC and will always be valued as a dedicated, engaged and very committed stakeholder. Professor Doris Østergaard. We honour her impressive record of achievements within our society in developing simulation as part of teaching and maintaining the skills necessary to excellently perform our profession. We especially want to acknowledge her great contribution in making simulation an essential part of our education portfolio. Thanks to her ongoing efforts and continuous engagement, ESAIC now is one of the key players in organising and coordinating simulation teaching at European level. Professor Kai Zakarowski. Professor Zakarowski has an impressive record of achievements within our society during his time as president. Under his presidency, he successfully elevated the recognition of the role of the anesthesiologist and intensivist through an impressive variety of ambitious initiatives. These accomplishments include successfully changing the name of the society, increasing media and public awareness of the profession during the pandemic, and introducing EU collaborations through Envision and Coven trials, to name just a few. Please show your appreciation for the 2022 honorary members, Professor Wolfgang Bjöhr, Professor Edith Matteau, Professor Doris Østergaard, and Professor Kai Zakarowski. Welcome onto stage, and please accept your award and we'll get you your award and your certificate.
Oh my God.
Please don't leave it.
I need to fellowship.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Edith. Come over
you.
and join me. We'll get ready for a photo.
You can take pictures.
No, I'm crying.
So,
Move out of the way. And stay with me. Yes. And Professor Østergaard, congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you for joining us. Professor Kai Zakarowski.
Your membership and your fellowship, please.
And you may not need to be a mathematician or an anesthesiologist to notice we are missing one. Eduardo.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Professor Wolfgang Bjöhr, that as many of you already know, yesterday has been elected as the new president for the next 2 years. After 2 years of fighting COVID, at the end got it.
Oh.
He's quite well, and we really wish him to recover, but unfortunately, he could not have been here as a super spreader. So, but
and hopefully he's watching at home, so I still would love us all to give some great appreciation for Professor Bjöhr. And one photo of you all together. Come up to the front. We must get them all in together. Congratulations to all our honorary members. It's truly been a privilege to share a stage with you. Edith, you must stay with me. Thank you so much. You may enjoy the rest of today. Thank you.